Tonight, Queenslanders prepare to see in the new year, but for many, there's little to celebrate. Two dead after a truck and train collide in remote South Australia. The new portable technology helping stroke patients to get critical care on time. And the last press of coins featuring the Queen. From tomorrow, they'll bear the image of King Charles. Good evening, Ellen Fanning with ABC News. Across the state, Queenslanders are gearing up to see out quite the year. Thousands have gathered for fireworks, music festivals and for some, a shot at love. But for many in the southeast corner without power since the wild Christmas storms, it'll be a darker than usual celebration.
Good weather for reflecting on the year that's been.
Happy New Year!
Those wanting a front row seat to the South Bank fireworks arrived early with the essentials.
I've been here quite a few years now doing this. It's exhausting, but I thoroughly enjoy it and wouldn't have it any other way.
Shaded spots were hot real estate.
I'm coming in the morning, 6 o'clock.
I'll be going to the bar very shortly to have a drink.
The details of the celebration were lost on some in the midst of fireworks excitement.
And what's today?
Is it Tuesday?
From 8 o'clock tonight, public transport in southeast Queensland will be free to ease congestion for those brave enough to see in the new year. At Brisbane's South Bank, 110 optimistic singles are hoping to find their New Year's kiss.
That would be our main goal, big, massive New Year's rom-com type moments, but we can't always predict or control those.
With attendees ranging from 25 to 65, the single mingle is growing in popularity.
The majority of them are sick of apps, they're impersonal, they're not really connecting with someone, they just want to connect with someone for real.
More mature guests need less encouragement.
The older age brackets, we just set stage, they perform.
But for many, it's not the night for celebrations after last week's deadly storms. 19,000 southeast Queensland households will ring in the new year in the dark.
This last week has been an absolute nightmare.
With outages since Christmas, Tamborine Mountain businesses are counting lost trade in the tens of thousands of dollars.
It's the time where we need to make profits to, pay for our expenses and our bank loans and everything else, wages.
With no resolution expected for days as energy crews work into the new year.
For 2024, we look to better weather and a brighter future for Queensland.
But it's not looking promising, with the Bureau forecasting heavy falls and possible storms across the Gold Coast and hinterland for the first 2 days of the new year. Jemima Burt, ABC News, Brisbane.
Some of the biggest crowds in years have packed the Sydney Harbour foreshore for the New Year's Eve fireworks. About 1 million people are expected, with another 400 million tuning in around the world.
As the gates opened at 7 this morning, people were falling over themselves to claim the best view. The Opera House forecourt was like a racetrack, and within minutes, a patchwork of picnic rugs began to cover the prime real estate.
Been on my bucket list for the last 10 years, so I'm really excited for the fireworks.
Some arrived at dawn.
I think Sydney is the best New Year's Eve spot in the world.
Others had camped out for the night.
We came here at 2 p.m. yesterday.
Mrs Macquarie's Point was declared full by 10:30 a.m. and at Barangaroo, the queue snaked along the foreshore. By midday, the lines were starting to move.
We are going to be seeing our first Sydney fireworks. So we're from South Africa and we're very excited.
Not even the rain could dampen spirits.
We have a lot of food, we have a tent, we have ball games.
The harbour itself crowded with craft of all kinds. In previous years, people have had to pay to enter fireworks vantage points, but this year, access to state government-owned sites by the harbour is free, and that's expected to draw some of the biggest crowds in years.
We are expecting crowd numbers to increase probably back to the 2018 levels.
Not everyone was a fan of the free-for-all.
I think I'd prefer to pay for a spot again. You rock up at 4 o'clock and you got the spot.
The show will celebrate First Nations culture as well as positivity and hope in troubled times.
We are looking forward to 2024 being a much better year.
And with the shores of the harbour city brimming 2024 is set to receive a wild welcome.
Happy New Year!
Alexander Lewis, ABC News, Sydney.
A 2-year-old girl has died after being found unresponsive in a car in North Queensland. The child was found at a property at Yungala this afternoon. Ambulance officers performed CPR, but she could not be revived. Police have declared a crime scene. 2 train drivers have been killed in a crash between a freight train and a truck near South Australia's border with New South Wales. Emergency services responded to the crash at a level crossing west of Broken Hill this morning. The drivers, Port Augusta men aged 48 and 57, died in the crash, which caused the train to catch fire and several carriages to derail. The driver of the truck, a 75-year-old Queensland man, was taken to hospital with minor injuries. The accident blocked the entire barrier highway, which is expected to be closed in both directions for several hours. World champion cyclist Rowan Dennis has been charged with causing the death of his wife, retired Olympian Melissa Hoskins, after a car crash in Adelaide's inner north. Emergency services were called this morning after reports a woman had been hit by a car. Police said Ms Hoskins suffered serious injuries and was taken to hospital for treatment but died overnight. The 32-year-old was a former Olympic track cyclist and professional road racing cyclist. Police arrested 33-year-old Rowan Dennis and charged him with causing death by dangerous driving without due care and endangering life. He's been bailed to appear in the Adelaide Magistrates Court in March. Ukraine has carried out one of its biggest waves of airstrikes on Russia since the start of the war. At least 22 people, including 2 children, were killed in the southwest city of Belgorod near the border with Ukraine. It comes a day after Russia launched a massive aerial bombardment on Ukraine, killing at least 40 people.
Shock and fear on the streets of Russia. Explosions hit the southwestern city of Belgorod on Friday and Saturday. This town is only 40 kilometres from Ukraine's border. It's been hit before during the almost 2-year conflict, but this appears to be the deadliest yet.
Today we experienced the heaviest toll in the last 2 years from shellings by the Ukrainian armed forces.
Ukrainian officials haven't formally claimed the attack, but there's reports Kyiv was trying to strike military targets in the area, with downed parts falling in the city.
It was a strong explosion. I put everyone in the bathroom.
The Kremlin called for an urgent UN Security Council meeting and warned this attack would not go unpunished. Retaliation soon came. Hours later, Russian missiles hit the Ukrainian cities of Kharkiv and Kherson.
What a present Russia gave us for the new year. They bomb residential areas. There are people here. How can they do such a thing?
Russia's president and top military officer had earlier been promoting a battlefield win, claiming the village of Mariinka in the Donetsk region.
By breaking this fortification, our troops have the opportunity to reach a wider operational area now.
Ukraine is reeling from a week of intense Russian strikes which killed dozens, and now warnings further pain could be on the way. Isabella Higgins, ABC News.
Gazan health authorities say nearly 170 Palestinians have been killed in the past 24 hours as Israel ramps up attacks. There's mounting pressure on Israel to do more to allow aid to flow freely amid accusations it's restricting the movement of life-saving supplies. And a warning, this report contains distressing details.
On October 7, Mia Shem was confronted with an agonising life or death decision.
To
stay burned to death here or go with him. And I told myself in my head, well, I don't want to die, I want to live.
The 21-year-old was taken hostage at the Supernova Music Festival when it came under attack from Hamas militants. This is the first time she's spoken publicly about her ordeal.
Closed in a dark room, not allowed to talk, not allowed to be seen, to be heard, hidden. There is a terrorist looking at you 24/7, looking, raping you with his eyes.
Shem was one of 78 hostages released as part of an exchange deal with Hamas. But dozens more are still being held inside Gaza. The IDF has released this video purportedly showing the latest airstrikes on Hamas targets. But on the ground, the number of civilian casualties continues to rise.
I never expected this number of deaths. We did not have such numbers in previous wars.
As Israel pushes deeper into central and southern Gaza, it's announced plans to take full control of the Philadelphia corridor with Egypt. The move would place the enclave under Israel's exclusive control and mark a de facto reversal of Israel's 2005 withdrawal from Gaza.
The southern stoppage point must be in our hands. It must be shut. It is clear that any other arrangement would not ensure the demilitarisation that we seek.
Israel is already accused of limiting badly needed humanitarian aid through its crossings, but it's condemning suggestions only a small amount of aid is getting through.
We place no limit on the amount of humanitarian supplies which can enter the Strip. Suggesting otherwise is a fallacy.
With the war now in its 13th week, Israel is warning much more fighting is to come before so-called victory is achieved. Alison Horn, ABC News, Jerusalem.
British actor Tom Wilkinson has died. Known for his roles in The Full Monty, Michael Clayton and The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, the 75-year-old died suddenly in his home. No cause of death was given. The Oscar-nominated actor had more than 130 film and TV credits, but is best remembered by many for playing a former steel mill foreman in the 1997 comedy film The Full Monty. He was recognised for his services to drama in 2005 when he was appointed a member of the Order of the British Empire. Chronically ill patients are turning to credit cards and foregoing food to cover the cost of medicines. A survey has found 1 in 4 patients are struggling to pay for their medicines as the cost of living continues to bite. For many, it's the cost of off-the-shelf medicines that are really starting to add up.
Not only is Karen Armanasco dealing with terminal neuroendocrine cancer, she's struggling to pay for it too. On top of regular scripts, the grandmother needs off-the-shelf pain medicines, laxatives, vitamins and other chemist items.
Over a period of a month, it's over $300.
It's a constant source of worry.
It's the incontinence. You only get to buy the pull-ups when they're on special because they're so expensive. That stops you from going out. Because you can't trust your bowels or your bladder.
She's one of many feeling the pinch when it comes to pharmacy goods not listed under the Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme, or PBS. They include essential items like pain medicines and gels, sharp spins, asthma spacers, incontinence pads, dressings, or even pregnancy vitamins. Chronic Pain Australia says 1 in 4 patients struggle to afford these products and skip food or fuel to pay.
It's incredibly expensive. What people are telling us that their out-of-pocket expenses for non-PBS items are around $200 a month.
The Australian Patients Association found many turn to credit to cover health costs.
There's been health cost issues for some time now, but the cost of living rises of recent times have really created a serious problem.
And there's little or no help available. The government's pharmaceutical allowance is just $6.60 a fortnight and only covers prescription medications for some people. But there is funding for one condition. These testing strips are covered for diabetics under the National Diabetes Services Scheme. The federal government says it's also lowered the PBS safety net and reduced the co-payment on scripts. Alison Branley, ABC News.
For stroke victims, any delay in medical care can be life-threatening. But in what doctors call a postcode lottery, rural patients often can't get help within the critical first hour after a stroke. Well, now Queensland researchers have developed a world-first mini portable brain scanner that can be used by paramedics at the scene to diagnose and treat patients within minutes.
Champion teenage runner Sean Lockhart had a stroke at 15, but because he lives in rural Queensland, he had just a 3% chance of getting treated within that golden hour.
Sean arrived at the hospital at 4 p.m. and the chopper arrived in Tara at 10 p.m.
A 6-hour delay. It was a very different story for 75-year-old Brisbane stroke patient Colin Knott, who was rushed to the PA stroke unit.
Within 30 minutes, I was up here in the hospital, which is extremely quick.
It's like a postcode lottery. And if you're in rural and remote Australia, particularly more remote parts, you virtually can't access acute stroke treatment.
But through research at the University of Queensland, the world's first brain scanner on wheels, and now a mini portable brain device are set to revolutionise stroke care. The ultra-lightweight helmet is designed for road and air ambulances.
The intention is paramedics can carry this device into the scene, run a scan and send those images via telestroke back to a specialist to guide urgent treatment and decision making.
It weighs under 10 kilos and has a ring of 28 antennas that send ultra-high frequency radio signals to detect if it's a clot or a bleed and to be treated accordingly.
It's very comfortable, it's non-invasive, and the whole process takes under 10 minutes.
The scanners are being trialled at major tertiary hospitals in Melbourne, Sydney and here in Brisbane. Then the mini brain scanner will be rolled out in ambulances around the country in a second trial mid next year.
We're reluctant to use words breakthroughs and game changers, but I think the concepts are right. And if these devices are clinically validated, I think the word game changer would not be an exaggeration.
Giving rural stroke victims like Sean,
I have no left side peripheral,
a better chance. Lexi Hamilton-Smith, ABC News.
Australia has beaten India by 3 runs in Mumbai to take an unbeatable 2-0 lead in the women's ODI series. Phoebe Litchfield top scored with 63, her second half-century in a row as Australia posted 8 for 258. Litchfield also took a brilliant diving catch as Jemima Rodrigues was dismissed for 44. Risha Ghosh fell only 4 runs short of a century, and Australia maintained its record of never having lost a one-day series against India.
That's not on our mind at all. We're fully aware of just how good this opposition is that we're playing against, and we know we've got to be up to the mark to maintain that record.
Rafael Nadal has revealed he considered retirement ahead of his long-awaited return to singles action at the Brisbane International. It comes as the 22-time Grand Slam champion also hinted there's a high chance this summer will be his last down under.
Back in a familiar surrounding, a place Rafa says holds fond memories. This trip, he'll cherish them even more.
It's a high percentage that's going to be my last time playing here in Australia. But if I am here next year, don't tell me you said going to be your last season, because I didn't say it.
But he did contemplate giving tennis away after needing hip surgery, often spending weeks waking up in pain.
Of course, in the low moments, it's 100% human that you put yourself in a position to say, okay, it makes sense, all the things that I have to do to be back at 37 years old.
A feeling Australia's top-ranked Aussie woman knows all too well.
Has turned it all around in this first set.
Arina Rodionova missed 8 months away with a wrist injury, but scored her first top 50 win in almost 4 years, defeating Martina Trevisan 6-3, 6-2.
I'm feeling really confident on the court and I'm feeling good, and I'm just, when you have an injury, you just don't take it for granted anymore.
And Alexei Popyrin has survived a 3-hour, 3-set marathon match against fellow Australian Chris O'Connell to progress to the second round. Jessica Stewart, ABC News, Brisbane.
In the WNBL, the Adelaide Lightning has suffered their 10th loss this season after going down by 25 points to the Southside Flyers. The home side started strongly with a 5-point advantage after the first break and went on to score 11 unanswered points. The Flyers bounced back to close the gap, with the game evenly balanced by half-time. The Melbourne side then put the foot down in the last 2 quarters to finish with a final score of 87-62. South East Melbourne's Gary Brown is facing a suspension after being ejected in his side's 12-point NBL loss to the Brisbane Bullets. The guard sucker-punched Brisbane big man Aaron Barnes midway through the 4th quarter and was sent off for the unsportsmanlike foul. He's already been fined for striking earlier in the season. The Bullets snapped a 4-game losing streak with the victory after leading at every change, with Nathan Sobey top scoring with 35 points.
We've been putting in the work and it hasn't been paying off, and we thought we'd been doing a great job and pounding the rock and really sticking with it and getting great looks. Just wasn't going our way, but tonight we really got after it and really executed when we needed to.
The Royal Australian Mint in Canberra has pressed its last coin with the image of Queen Elizabeth. 500 people turned out this afternoon for a ballot for 10 special tickets to press the last 10 coins. Tomorrow, the Mint will hold a similar event for 100 people to press the first collector coins for 2024, which will feature King Charles. Let's have a look at the weather now. Much of the state still enduring heatwave conditions. The severe heat contracting to the north and west of the state into early next week, affecting Weipa through Doomadgee, Townsville west to Mount Isa, as well as Longreach and Winton in western and central parts. Temperatures in the low to mid-40s. Julia Creek, the warmest place in the state today. Ever so slightly cooler today after yesterday's record scorcher in Winton. Brisbane today, 30 degrees, Ipswich 32, and cooler on the coasts. The satellite photo, look at the mid-north coast of New South Wales. Very heavy rainfall around Coffs Harbour. That system is going to move north. There's a severe weather warning for heavy rainfall from tomorrow for the Gold Coast and hinterland areas. And again, it's east of this arcing low pressure system across Queensland that's getting all the unsettled weather. Severe thunderstorms continuing tonight from Hughenden to St George, with warnings for hail, wind and heavy rain. Dysart recorded 62 millimetres of rain in the half hour to 5:30. For people on the Gold Coast, Coolangatta, Mount Tamborine and Springbrook, a severe weather warning for heavy rainfall and thunderstorms, which may lead to flash flooding during Monday. 3 to 6 hourly rainfall totals could reach between 80 and 160 millimetres, and isolated 24-hourly totals could exceed 200 millimetres. That's nearly 8 inches over the day. The big sky of the Darling Downs is our first photo tonight, and Vincent was up at 5:30 at Kangaroo Point to get this vantage on the city of Brisbane. Around the country, Perth sunny and 29, mostly sunny in Adelaide, and a rainy day in Sydney. Cairns, the Tablelands, Townsville, Mackay and Rocky, showers and the chance of thunderstorms. Those storms could be really severe around Ayr, Ingham, Charters Towers down to Emerald. Cloudy with the chance of showers and the chance of a thunderstorm for Gladstone out to Roma down to Gundawindi, mainly fine elsewhere. Wet everywhere in the southeast, but very heavy rainfall, as we've been saying, for the Gold Coast and the hinterland. Significant uncertainty about when that will arrive, but it could be in the early hours tomorrow. Brisbane, Ipswich and the Sunshine Coast, showers, chance of a thunderstorm. Nearly 100% chance of showers on the Bay, seas below a metre. And hopefully this isn't an omen for 2024, a wet start to the new year. And that is ABC News to this moment. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll leave you tonight with some of Queensland's defining moments for 2023. Happy New Year.
In less than a minute, a joy flight turned deadly. 4 lives lost and several others injured.
Just heard this loud bang and just pieces, shrapnel flying everywhere.
And everybody's asking themselves, how could something like that happen?
Everyone knows somebody that works at a mine, and it highlights, even though there's a high level of safety at all these mines, it's still a really high-risk industry.
The men were crewing the MRH-90 chopper when it ditched into the ocean in the Whitsundays.
It is clear there was a catastrophic impact.
Sharing the grief of a small community.
It was bloody terrible, eh? It was terrible.
Mike Ahern will be remembered as a man who steered Queensland through a time of crisis.
We'll be implementing the Fitzgerald recommendations lock, stock and barrel.
Bill's re-establishment of federal Labor as a real and genuine force is without doubt the crowning achievement of his long public life.
Lives have been lost as the state's ramping crisis deepens.
The system is not working. Something needs to change.
Queensland's no vote was the highest in the country.
People are feeling rejected. People feel that nobody cares.
We want change. When do we want it?
The government's so-called tough new laws are anything but. They are not working.
The controversy over the new youth detention laws has given rise to leadership speculation.
Anastasia will lead the government to the next election.
Will you be staying on as the leader, Premier?
Absolutely.
Save our school! Stand up, fight back!
$2.7 billion on a single stadium in the middle of a housing crisis is an absurd waste of money.
Good morning.
After almost 9 years as Premier, a bombshell announcement.
It's been a great honour. Queensland is in good shape, which is why now it's time for me to leave.
It was all smiles for the Premier and his revamped team.
Stephen Miles, Queensland Premier. It is the first time I've said that.
Staking claim on the NRLW Origin after winning the first series.
It's Queensland for another 12 months.
This is not anyone's team, but over 5 million Queenslanders.
Brisbane's premiership-winning AFLW side.
The Queens of the Jungle.
Unlocker.
One, two, three, strike!
I'm the captain of the team. It makes me feel proud.
The annual NAIDOC Ball, hosted in Arakoon, brings youth and elders together.
They're our next generation. They're the ones that can move mountains, I feel.
It's always been Gari to a lot of people, but now we know that it's Gari to all people.
Festivals like these can shine a spotlight on what the disability community can offer.
The Melon Festival is very famous, so I've been waiting for 2 years to come here.
I love getting out into the country, into the bush and working with your dog, and it's just a lovely weekend away from the mundane.
It was very soft colours as we started to drive up, and then the colours were very intense, and to have the bush is quite special, it's quite different.
Locals say it's the worst flood in memory. Burketown is surrounded by 3 rivers, now engulfing the community.
We've never seen this before since the 1970s.
An October inferno.
I'm worried about the place today because of the wind direction. It's going to change and it's going to get worse.
Holy
It's a dangerous fire and people need to take heed of all the warnings.
It's all the little things that you've collected over the years that I think it's the hardest.
Jasper has arrived.
Overnight, the cyclone did cross the coast. That does not mean that this incident is over.
From Cooktown to Cairns to Cardwell, the rain has been relentless.
One of the locals used the term Armageddon.
The devastation hard to fathom just before Christmas.
It's just heartbreaking.
Queensland has been hit by deadly storms with 7 people killed, including a child.
Climate change is having an impact in terms of more frequent disasters, more extreme disasters.
helping people and being able to receive help back is so good.
These are the stories of which every Australian can be proud of, the very essence of the Australian character.